Good morning, my dear students. Once again, I'm happy to meet you through this video class. I am Kalaimani. The topic that we're going to discuss today is chapter number 8, excretion. I think the structure of kidney, nephron, and urine formation that you might have completed in the previous videos. Today, we're going to discuss about the regulation of kidney functions. Here, the functions of kidney that is monitored by different hormones and enzymes. So the functioning of kidney and also regulation of kidney is monitored by the hypothalamus, hypothalamus of the brain, and the structure which are present in the kidney that is called as the juxta. There is cells, or that is called glomerular, juxtaglomerular cells or juxtaglomerular apparatus, and also partially by the heart. So these three structures are responsible for controlling the working and the functioning of the heart. So here we are going to see one by one how these are playing major role for controlling the kidney function. First one, it is a hypothalamus. We know that hypothalamus is a part of our central nervous system that is located very close to the cerebrum. The hypothalamus contain the different types of sensory structure. One specialized structure is called as the osmoreceptor cells or osmoreceptors. The osmoreceptors that find out the blood volume, body fluid volume, and also the ionic concentration. Suppose if the blood volume or body fluid volume, ionic concentration that is increases or decreases, that can be easily felt by the osmoreceptor which is present in the hypothalamus region. When these the blood volume or body fluid concentration decreases, that is decreases in blood, this osmoreceptor portion of the hypothalamus easily detects and secretes a hormone called ADH. It's also called anti-diuretic hormones, or it is also called vasopressin. It is also called vasopressin. Okay, so when more anti-diuretic hormone or ADH, it is released from the hypothalamus. In hypothalamus also the particular portion is called neurohypophysis. So in neurohypophysis, the ADH hormone is released. The ADH hormone, actually the releasing of ADH hormone from the hypothalamus is called as the positive feedback mechanism. Okay, it is called a positive feedback mechanism. That is a releasing of the hormone called vasopressin, called a positive feedback mechanism. This vasopressin or ADH that induces the part of the nephron, what we call this is the distal convoluted tubule and also the collecting duct. Right? And these two are part of the nephron. So the ADH or vasopressin which act here in this DCT and collecting tubule and increasing a special type of the substances or protein which is present in the DCT and collecting duct called aquaporins. That is present in the cell membrane of these DCT and collecting duct or collecting tubule. When aquaporin concentration increases, right, this is more permeable to water. And here the aquaporins, when allows more water from these nephron, that actually return that back to the blood vessels, right? When it reaching the blood vessel, automatically the blood pressure and also the volume of blood volume that increases. Suppose if the angiotensin hormone secretion or ADH secretion is more, the increasing the absorption of water from the nephron, that is from the glomerular filtrate, also will increase, so that the blood pressure as well as the volume of fluid, body fluid, will increases. Suppose if the ADH hormone, that is decreases, ADH hormone secretion is deficient, that leads to the condition called diabetes mellitus. It is called diabetes mellitus. So diabetes mellitus, it is nothing but loss of more water through urine. That condition is also called diuresis. It's called diuresis. Diuresis means loss of more water. That is because when ADH hormone is low, automatically the aquaporins is which allow the water to reabsorb in the DCT and the collecting duct decreases. When the aquaporin concentration is low, reabsorption of water also decreases. When water concentration is low, obviously the blood pressure is reduced and the volume of body fluid is also reduced because of the less secretion of ADH hormone, so that more water is lost through urine. The condition is called diuresis or diabetes insipidus. So in the diagram, I think this structure of nephron you might have studied. Here is a Bowman's cup, and here we have the proximal convolute tubule, and here U-shaped loop of Henle. Here we have collecting duct and also the DCT. So this one is the distal convoluted tubule. Here is the collecting duct or collecting tube, collecting duct. Here the ADH hormone actually act in these two places. So when the glomerular filtrate, it is the afferent arteriole, here is the Bowman's cup as well as the glomerulus, here is the efferent arteriole. So in the fluid when passing through this, here in this portion, here this one we call this the glomerular filtrate. When the glomerular filtrate passing through the various regions of the nephron, the water as well as the, especially water and also the sodium, these two components, there is the water as well as the mineral sodium, that is reabsorbed here, here in the DCT as well as the collecting duct, and enter into the nearby blood vessels. The structure, I think you have studied, it is called as the vasa recta, in which the water is reabsorbed. So when it enters the blood, again it enters into circulation and increases the blood pressure. So the protein portion which is present here in the walls of the DCT and also walls of the collecting duct, what we call this is the aquaporins. So this hormone, ADH hormone, is responsible to increases the blood pressure, and if the deficiency of this ADH hormone leads to the condition called diabetes mellitus. It's called diabetes mellitus. So what are the symptoms of the diabetes mellitus? So decreasing secretion of ADH is called as a negative feedback mechanism. It's called a negative feedback mechanism. So secretion of ADH and increases the blood volume, that is called a positive feedback mechanism. So in the case of diabetes mellitus, the first symptom is called as the polyuria. It is called a polyuria. That means frequent urination or excretion of urine. It is periodically, regular. And second one, because of loss, when more water, which is excreted out, not reabsorbed into the blood, that leads to the condition called polyuria. And the second one, that is called polydipsia. because of loss of water through urine, that leads to more thirsty. So that leads to frequent that is intake of liquid or intake of water. So this we call as the polydipsia. So suppose if the person affected by the problem like as said earlier, because of a deficiency of this ADH, at this stage the water concentration may be decreased. So the person takes the form of water or in the the form of juice and other things. Automatically the osmoreceptor cells of the hypothalamus that reduces the secretion of the hormone called ADH hormone. So the main functioning of the ADH is useful to maintain the water concentration or body fluid, right, in the blood. So the kidney function, right, it is regulated in one way by decreasing or increasing the secretion of the hormone called ADH hormone. So hypothalamus playing a major role for increasing or decreasing the secretion of the hormone called ADH hormone, right? And second one, the regulation of kidney function is done by the specialized apparatus which is present in the nephron. What we call this is the juxta. Okay, it is called as the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxtaglomerular apparatus. Here in the nephron, I think the structure you might have studied. Here is the structure of the nephron. Here the blood vessel, we call this as an afferent arteriole that enters here, and here efferent arterioles which exit from the Bowman's cup. And from this efferent arteriole, actually the coiled and the loop as well as the distal convolute tubule. Here in this portion, distal convolute tubule, very close to this, between the afferent arteriole and also here efferent arteriole, here some specialized cells are present. Specialized cells. Here three different types of specialized cells are present, that is present between these blood vessels and also here in this distal convoluted tubule. So the three different types of cells. Actually the cells which are present very close to the both afferent and efferent arteriole. Here this one is called as the juxtaglomerular cells. It's called juxtaglomerular cells. These cells are also called granular cells. It is also called granular cells. And the cells which are present very close to this blood vessel, part of the nephron, this cell is called macula densa. The cell is called macula densa. Juxtaglomerular apparatus which controls the kidney function. Juxtaglomerular apparatus including these JG cells. It is called juxtaglomerular cells. And the second one is the macula densa. Third one that is present between the JG cells and also macula densa, that is called as the Lassie cells. All these three forms the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Here there is a macula densa which sends the distal tubular flow. Distal tubular flow in the sense that it sends the flow of fluid in the distal convoluted tubule, as well as it also find out the diameter of the afferent arteriole. Because the afferent arteriole and the efferent arteriole diameter is more important to increase or decrease the blood pressure inside the glomerulus. So this macula densa, it helps to sense the distal tubular flow as well as to sense the diameter of the afferent arteriole. And the juxtaglomerular cells is responsible to secrete the enzyme called renin. The enzyme that is called as the renin. And here the renin converts the plasma protein called angiotensinogen. The angiotensinogen is a plasma protein that is produced by the liver. This angiotensinogen is converted into angiotensin 1 by the enzyme called renin, and angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2 by the enzyme called angiotensin converting enzyme. So angiotensin converting enzyme it helps to convert the angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. This angiotensin 2 plays a major role. It has a very important role at two places. One, angiotensin 2 that is responsible for the reabsorption. Okay, it is responsible for reabsorption of water and sodium chloride in PCT. So, proximal convoluted tubule is the major region or the major site for the reabsorption of water as well as the sodium chloride. So, that is an important functions of the angiotensinogen 2. And second one, the same angiotensin 2 is responsible to stimulate. It induces the adrenal gland. So the adrenal gland has cortex and medulla. It induces the cortex region and secrete the hormone called aldosterone. The hormone is called aldosterone. So actually adrenal cortex is the major site for secretion of the aldosterone hormone. This aldosterone act mainly the distal convoluted tubule of nephron. In distal convoluted tubule, the aldosterone hormone is responsible to absorb again both water as well as sodium ion. So the angiotensin 2 is responsible for the reabsorption of water and sodium chloride in PCT. As I said, more than 90% of the water that is reabsorbed from the glomerular filtrate into the bloodstream. And adrenal gland cortex region secretes the aldosterone hormone. Again here in the DCT region, not in the proximal convoluted tubule, here in the distal convoluted tubule, water and sodium reabsorption takes place by the hormone called aldosterone. So whenever the glomerular blood flow, glomerular filtration rate, right, and blood pressure decreases, right, here these JG cells are activated and release the enzyme called renin. The renin is responsible for the releasing of, converting the angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. So angiotensin 1 it is converted to angiotensin 2 by angiotensin converting enzyme. This angiotensin converting enzyme is not secreted. Obviously here the angiotensin 2 will never act on these two places and the reabsorption of water will be reduced, and again sodium as well as water will be eliminated through urine. So this is responsible to maintain the water level, mineral, especially sodium level in the blood. So when this angiotensin is acting here in these two places to absorb the water as well as the minerals, the glomerular filtration rate has become normal. When the blood flow is more to the afferent arteriole with more volume of blood, more the blood fluid as well as more ionic concentration, that actually increases the pressure here, and this obviously increases the glomerular filtration rate. So glomerular filtration rate that is about 125 ml per minute. So in 1 minute, the glomerular filtration rate, that is the fluid which is filtered by the Malpighian capsule, is about 125 ml. So 1 day it is about 170 to 180 liters. But it is filtered here, maximum substances that is reabsorbed at different places of the nephron or in the uriniferous tubules, especially in PCT, DCT, and also the collecting duct. So the whole system, we call this is the RAS system. It's called a RAS system. It's nothing but renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. It is called a RAS system. It is the second one is responsible to control and regulate the functions of the kidney. First one, the secretion of ADH, and the second one is the RAS system. Actually, the angiotensinogen 2 act here in the brain, heart, blood vessels, kidney, and also the adrenal gland. So the second system is responsible to control the functions of kidney. The third one, the regulation of kidney function, is controlled by the important factor which is secreted by the heart, that is called atrial, that is called ANF factor. ANF, atrial natriuretic factor. Okay, it is secreted here in the atrium. So we know that in a heart we have 4 chambers. The uppermost 2 chambers are called atrium. It is atrium. When more volume of blood and also more fluid, okay, fluid in the blood, right? These components as well as the more ionic concentration actually sensed by the wall of the atrium. Actually, RAS system and also the ADH hormone is responsible to increase the blood pressure. These two, that helps to increase the blood pressure. But this atrial natriuretic factor, ANF factor, it is a kind of peptide or it is a protein component which functions antagonistically to the RAS system and also the ADH hormone. When the blood pressure is more, when it is sensed by the atrial wall release this peptide or protein component called atrial natriuretic factor. This atrial natriuretic factor that is responsible to control or reduces the blood pressure. Actually, when blood pressure is more here, when it is released, it circulates to 2 important regions. One to the hypothalamus. So through the blood vessel, this ANF factor that is circulates to the brain, that is to the hypothalamus. In the hypothalamus, it decreases or inhibits the secretion of the hormone called ADH. Because in hypothalamus, there is this hormone secretion actually is minimized, especially it is produced here in the neurohypophysis. So ADH secretion is minimized by the atrial natriuretic factor. When ADH is more, or ADH secretion is less, automatically excess water that is present in the glomerular filtrate rate is eliminated in the form of urine. So blood pressure decreases. And when the atrial natriuretic factor released in the blood, that also again reaching the kidney. Here in the kidney, as we discussed earlier, the RAS system, especially the releasing of renin, is completely inhibited or that is prevented. So that when renin concentration decreases, automatically the reabsorption of water as well as the sodium ion from the glomerular filtrate or from the PCT and DCT, that is also minimized, so that more water that is excreted out and the volume of fluid in the blood as well as the pressure in the blood vessels that get decreases. So the ANF factor is working or functioning that is against the RAS system and also the ADH hormone. So this both ADH hormone, this RAS system and the atrial natriuretic factor, these 3 are responsible to regulate the functions of kidney. And the next one is the micturition. Micturition is nothing but the feeling of urination. Micturition is the feeling of urination, or it is the frequent the excretion of urine. So there is a process of releasing of urine from the bladder. We call this the micturition process. Here in the urinary bladder, a kind of receptor cell is present called stretch receptors. It's called stretch receptors. So we know that when nephrons collect the urine, that is carried through the ureter and stored in the urinary bladder. Okay, actually the urinary bladder, which is made up of the smooth muscles, and a specialized receptor cells are present called stretch receptors. Here, when the stretch receptors are stimulated to contract and release, relaxes, that is actually done by the CNS, central nervous system. From the central nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, that is called PNS, which carries information to the urinary bladder and stimulate or it induces a stretch receptor to relax. When the urinary bladder get filled with urine, right? Simultaneously when the stretch receptor stimulate the smooth muscles of the urinary bladder to relax, the urine that is expelled out from the urinary bladder through urethra. And simultaneously, here one more specialized cells are also present, that is called somatic motor cells. It is called somatic motor cells. Okay, this somatic motor, that is nerve. So this somatic motor nerve or somatic motor neuron, okay, this again stimulates the two different types of the sphincter muscles are present. One is called internal sphincter and another one is called external sphincter. These two sphincter muscles are present at the urethra. So this somatic motor neuron stimulate this both internal sphincter as well as external sphincter to open when the urinary bladder is get built. So here the two neurons or two nervous tissues or cells are responsible to induce the urinary bladder. One is stretch receptor, that is induced by the parasympathetic nervous system that bring the information from the CNS, and simultaneously the somatic motor nerve which relaxes the internal sphincter and external sphincter muscles which are present at the urethra. These are responsible for the excretion of urine or elimination of the urine. So this frequent urination process, or not frequent, this is a urination process, we call this as the micturition process. So the capacity of this urinary bladder is approximately about 1 to 1.5 liters, but per day, as I said earlier, there is 170 to 180 liters of fluid that is actually separated, filtered by the kidney. What we call this is the that is a filtration rate. Okay, GFR per day. Glomerular filtration rate per day is about 180 to 170 to 180 liters. Among this, just 1 to 1.5 liter that is eliminated as or excreted as a urine. Per day, approximately 1 to 1.5 liter is eliminated. Normally the urine is a yellow color. Okay, yellow color fluid. It is acidic. Approximately the pH is 6. The pH is 6. But according to the diet or according to the different type of food, the pH sometimes varies from 4.5 to 8 also, depending upon the diet the person takes. And in addition to that, the yellow color is due to the coloring substance which is present in the urine called urochrome. Substance is called urochrome that is present in the urine, and the urochrome gives a specific, the color to the urine called yellow. That is because of the destroyed product of RBC cells. One is called bilirubin and also biliverdin. These two substances that is produced by the destruction of RB cell in liver, that actually through bile it reaches the digestive system, and is also eliminated through urine, urochrome substances. So this depending upon the concentration of these urochrome substances, we can find out the different types of the metabolic disorders. So by analyzing the urine, we can find out whether the person is infected by the disease like diabetes mellitus, diabetes mellitus, and also the jaundice. So this kind of the metabolic disorders can be diagnosed by analysis the urine. So that very unique or specific color as well as the different substances, that is bilirubin, biliverdin, that is present here. So metabolic disorders can be easily diagnosed by analysis the urine. So my dear students, go through this video, and if you get any doubt, you can ask the teachers immediately, and you go through the book also. Thank you very much for watching my videos. Thank you.